We are talking about 5 ways you can make a quantum leap today in the Relentless Woman Mastermind. So usually we have Sharon Bondurant with us, but she had an appointment that she couldn't move today. So Alisa and I are holding down the fort, and we miss Sharon. We'll see her again here next month. So Alisa.
Hi.
Holy crap. How are you?
I'm good. We're hanging in there, huh?
So I guess the first thing we have to weigh in on is COVID-19. I mean,
right.
Yeah, right. You're in the mortgage business and I'm in the people business. So
yeah, I'm in the people business too. I feel like more. It's sometimes funny when people, I focus on a lot of credit and home buying, more education, but obviously the most important thing my whole life, the last couple of weeks, has become the stimulus check. And it's funny because people go like, they'll see, when they talk to me, they'll say, calm down, it's coming. I'm like, I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm not even getting one. It's about the fact that I'm for people and that people are looking for them and they're writing me constant, comments like, hey, I can't get anybody to answer me this. The one thing I think my purpose, one thing I can do is help make something that's complicated a little bit more simple. I think that's a little bit more of, that's kind of what I've always done, is taking that credit report, like, let's color it, rewrite it, simplify it. So whatever I can do. So the big subject has been the stimulus check. A lot of confusion, for the sake of timing, to make sure that it got into the hands of as many people as possible. You sacrificed a few things, like getting it to people that are actually alive. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it went out to a lot of people that were deceased because of just the way. You got to understand the system.
And it's fun. I had a situation this week that was kind of around this idea, like, all right, so I've learned in my life that sometimes great is the enemy of good. Usually it's the other way around, that good is the enemy of great, right? Like, you need to be great every second. Everything needs to be great. But I've also learned how good enough is good enough, So the question is like, do we wait until we have a perfect process? Right. Do I wait until I have the right lighting and everything's perfect and I know for sure that BeLive's working great every day? Do I wait until I have perfection to get started? No, I don't. The IRS made the same decision. They're like, you know what? We've got a bunch of people who need money and we have a system and we're just going to go do the best we can do with it. So, however many dead
got $8 million for it. So, but the thing is that some of the confusion too is just how much more now versus the stimulus check back in 2008. We are on social media. We are online now.
I remember getting a stimulus check in 2008. I didn't get one.
You could read 50 articles before you wake up about what this check is. So the information's everywhere. And sometimes it's not even about whether or not one article says something different than the other, but it's the way it's perceived and then repeated. So what happens is you hear something and then you go, oh, you know what? That the money's gone in that payment protection it's gone. And it's not like you really know, but you've heard and you've read articles. And so that's been the hardest thing, is trying to determine, like, how do I give information to people that isn't just regurgitated from all these other things, Where's the tiny little thing that people are probably going to read right past and they're going to miss it. And then I'm like, that's what I got to talk about. And so I've been trying to find things like that. But this is important. Just last night, it was like, they said, we know we've been telling everybody who gets Social Security, who get railroad reimbursement, who get disability benefits or VA benefits, our veterans, we've been telling them, you don't need to do anything. It's automatic. You're going to get your stimulus check the same way you receive benefits, right? And that those are coming. They haven't really said that part, but they're coming like the first week in May. So all they're hearing is, who are all these people getting money? We didn't get it. They said automatically we were going to get it, but they're getting it in a couple weeks. Well, then they come out last night and say, oh, but if you're a veteran, if you are getting disability and you don't file 2018 and 2019 tax returns because you didn't have to, but you do have kids under 17, you're going to get the stimulus check. But if you want to get that $500 per child, you have until tomorrow, Wednesday, August 22nd at noon to get over to the irs.gov website and fill out the non-filer form. If you don't, and you don't get there by noon tomorrow, to fill out the non-filer form. Then you miss the boat. If the check gets sent out, you have to wait to file your 2020 tax returns in order to get that child tax credited. And that's $500 a kid. So you have to stop what you're doing. And if you don't get disability and you don't get social disability or get VA benefits, but you know someone who does and they have kids under 17, and for some reason they don't file tax returns because you're that close, because not everybody knows that. But if you do know that, call them up and say, you know what, let me walk you through if you're nervous. Non-filer form, let me help you get this. And then you get $500 per child.
Oh, that's cool. It's amazing to me. Like, I think what's happening, and we talked about this little pre-interview, is that I know what's happening for me. So my dad passed away in February, and I had to manage his estate, get my mother set up, and then COVID hit, like literally, like as that was happening. Yeah. So I've got a lot of like customer service calls for myself, for my mother, for my father. COVID happening, you're on hold. I'm trying to run my business. I'm trying to manage my projects. I'm trying to, and people are they're a little
cranky,
stressed, right? Yeah. So what happens is we're getting overloaded with so much information that people who are usually just sweet as pie are. I watched two guys, like, two chums that hang out, like have a literal almost fist fight in the grocery store the other day because one of the guys hurt the other guy's feelings. Kid you not.
I believe it.
Like, there's a lot of emotion going on right now. So one of the things that I've been doing is saying, okay, what's really important? Like, where do I need to focus my energy? What's the most important thing? And everything else is going to need to get put on hold. So I can't how many people I've said, nope, not focusing on that right now. Nope, not focusing on that right now. Nope, not now, later. Don't know when. Yep, nope. Like yesterday I had a conversation with a person who normally I'm sure is a very kind and considerate person, but they were just overwhelmed. Yeah. And I said, wow, let's just back up and like put this on hold because neither one of us.
We can take it so personal. We have to stop and go, whoa.
Oh yeah, it's not about you at all, 100%. But I also think that my dad's death combined with COVID, combined with where my business development, good word, is right now, is changing my. There's a bigger shift coming for me than I'm even aware at this point, and I think that everyone is in that spot. Yeah. And one of the things I realized this morning after I kind of processed what happened yesterday, I was like, you know what? People think that, the governor and the president are going to say, okay, go ahead and start doing your thing, and that everything's going to go back to normal. Like one of my friends the other day said, I'm looking forward to things going back to normal. And the reality is it's never going back to normal. There's going to be a whole new normal. There's going to be a whole new normal, and how this all rolls out is not going to be turnkey. And so I have to take a step back and look at my business and say, okay, I'm putting my Micalizzi Gives project on hold definitely until July. In July, I'm going to say, hey, are the charities ready to start working with me? And my guess is they're not. My guess is that charities are going to be on a skeleton crew for a while, and that they're not going to have the bandwidth and extra out-of-the-box project like Micalizzi Gives. That's my guess, but I could be wrong. I've also put my Art of Fearlessly Doing Business project on hold because right now I know that my energy needs to go towards immediate revenue-generating activity. And my Micalizzi and my Art of Fearlessly Doing Business project won't generate income for me until May of next year. Now, the work has to happen real time, right? But I have to put off that work. And as I was doing, I'm putting out a newsletter to kind of let people know where I'm at and kind of remind them what I'm doing. And I'm thinking, I have to say, I always want to say to people, I'm going to get back to that in October, or I'm going to get back to that in such and such. Because I'm a set a goal, put a deadline, make it happen kind of girl. But the reality is I don't know when those projects can restart. And it's not, and there's that part of me that's like, Michelle, don't be a quitter on your art. But also there's the other part of me that knows that I have to be realistic about where my energy is spent. And so you and I know that I just put a chart we have a Trello project where all of our goals are getting put for our little mastermind that we're doing. And I have a chart. and I re-looked at it, and my top 3 income earners are still the top 3 income earners, but I had to put a couple things on hold and kind of move them out of my energy space for a while.
But that's what the shift has to happen. That
Yeah.
shift has to happen. You know, Gary Vee was saying yesterday morning, I like his, his tea show in the morning, but he was saying, and it hit me so hard that I was like, oh, he said, if you're an entrepreneur, if you've decided to kind of go a route of being entrepreneur minded, even if you do get a paycheck or whatever, then you're signing up to be a juggler. And if you decide you're going to be a juggler, then you got to be cool with the fact that you're going to drop some balls. Like, it's going to happen. It's part of
100%.
the juggling process. And then what you'll decide is that the balls that you are that you can manage to juggle and not drop, have to be the ones that are the most priority, that are most. So you have to figure out that some balls gotta drop, and the key
or
thing
some
is
balls you can just get put in your pocket. You ever watch a juggler? Sometimes they'll be doing 16 balls, and then they put some in their pocket, and they put some, and then they're doing, So right now, I'm reducing the amount of balls that I'm juggling, so that I can be clearer in my messaging right now, because people are unable to multitask in their focus ability right now.
Yeah.
It's just a reality of there being so much information, so much stuff coming at you. So I'm making like a massive shift, and I know that everybody else is too. I wanted to make sure that we had some things that we wanted to touch on today about the whole COVID thing. And the first thing was that there's silver linings everywhere. And that we need to, number one was we needed to get positive. And so the epiphany of that there's silver linings everywhere. There's portions of my business that this is a perfect time for.
Mm-hmm.
So the storytelling
like
part,
you're in the right place at the right time, like
100%.
Yeah.
I have I had a couple special editions that I was doing this year, and I'm looking at, well, what is it that people really need? And some people are not tech savvy. I know how hard it is for me to do this every week. It's a lot of work, and I'm a crazy multitasking, overeducated, multiple app kind of chick. My brain can move in lots of directions.
To work on all cylinders, all the time,
right?
Yeah.
So you and I are definitely the same that way. So there's a lot of people that they have to get their story out there, and they don't want to learn all the stuff. So I'm going to be doing 4 additional special editions this year. Now, that wasn't part of the plan pre-COVID, but it is now, because I'm realizing, okay, the silver lining
is shift all the time.
I can sell.
Did I want to talk about the stimulus check? For the last couple of weeks, I've become like the stimulus queen on TikTok, where I want to keep going. TikTok's grown so much. It's become so much. And I know it sounds silly, but it's become so like overwhelmingly like the circus all under one tent, every day, that, you just have to stay very, prioritized, I think.
Right. So so for me, a silver lining is that storytelling is something that people are wanting. Mm-hmm. And that, the fitness industry is going through a massive shift, and the part of business that focuses on business coaching specifically towards fitness professionals that's a silver lining. I can have those 2 conversations right there, bolder than ever, because people need their story told. They need to connect with their people, and fitness trainers like, oh my God, I was just in the gym and I don't know exactly what I should do next for revenue. Right. So those 2 areas of my business, total silver lining, because I also see silver lining hearing kids playing outside with their parents, and people are spending more time together than they have in years. And, Doc and I have been, we've been isolating like we should for the most part, unless we're around somebody kind of in the midst of COVID. And we've only had one family that we've done that with. On Easter, we did spend some time with a family that we'd already been with. So we were like, okay, if they got it, we got it.
Yeah.
But other than that, we went for a ride on our own on Sunday, and we sat and talked. And yesterday, Doc made his first carrot cake. We've been spending like some really wonderful quality time together. So there's a lot of silver linings in the family time. How about you? Like, what are some of the silver linings for you?
Well, definitely like just a pause in general, is what a lot of us just needed in general, just to be able to pause for a second and say, take inventory of like the people in our life, the things in our life. Are we prepared, to be in quarantine? Like really, what's our level of cooking and handling things, which is
Right.
mine for zero. But I mean, it's kind of that. But I also think that some of the stuff that a lot of us have been really hesitant to kind of move forward on, that we know would help us in our business. Like a lot of it has to do with video. Just video
Right.
in general is one of those things where you really want to do it and you want to get consistent and good at it. It's just hard. And it's one of those things where the more you do it, the more you do of anything, the more second nature it's going to become. And before you
that
know
was
it,
one of the silver linings for me too, because my videographer, Scotty Yang, and I are working together this year to help grow his business a bit. And we were already planning on doing a series called the Video Lab. And Andy Lawson, who's from Fiery FX, a digital marketer, she and I we'd already planned out the series.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit. So we actually had these two series in place, and never has social marketing and video been more important. So 100% silver lining.
And it's almost like you're thrown in. So many people that, wanted to do a YouTube class or something and learn Zoom, or wanted to do a YouTube class and learn TikTok or go,
family did Zoom.
It's kind of
I have my family doing a Zoom meeting every Sunday now.
Oh, I love
my
that.
My family would have never. Ireland, England, Italy.
It's so
New
cool.
York, New Jersey. No,
but I love the creativity. There's certain aspects of that. I love being able to see, well, what do you do? Oh, my daughter's going to turn 13, on Sunday. What are we going to do? Like, okay, we're going to have a Zoom birthday party. I mean, it's going to just be this, all the little girls. We did a drive-by one last weekend where we drove by like a caravan and just, the little girl stood out in the garage and went like this, and we all, whatever you got to do I love the fact that there's these roadblocks, and then you get to almost observe human behavior and how they handle those roadblocks. It's been eye-opening for me to watch not only human individual people and how they've handled the anxiety, the chaos, life, but just their overall mood, vibe, feel of it all. And just in general, a lot of companies approaches. How many companies have we seen out there where like Shake Shack, I'm buying shakes for the rest of my life because they gave 10 million back to small businesses, because they realized, oh my gosh, we didn't realize that that we were going to have so much money given to us when there's all these smaller businesses, and like, we'll get our own money here. That's a company I like, or the companies that look like crap throughout this, that like, ASU, like, hey, we're not going to give you, I'm sorry, I'm an ASU girl, alumni, but it's like, you're not going to give a refund to the students for their dorm. They can't go back to. Like, there's certain ways that in those moments you get to see in a moment what they're really about.
I was on a Zoom call the other day with somebody that was doing a mastermind meeting for another organization that I work with, and I had to leave early because I had a special edition to do on Relentless Talk Radio, and I said, "Hey, listen, if they don't record this, let's talk later. I'd love to hear what you have to say." And he goes, "Yeah, like that's going to happen." And I thought, "Nope, it never will.
Never now.
I will never meet with you. You're an idiot.
Nice to meet you. Have a good day. It was nice talking to you. I wish I could say the same for you." And I said, "Well, fine." I was like, "I'm making a TikTok about you. You're in trouble." That's my revenge now. Oh, you're going on TikTok.
So our first thing was get positive. The next thing was get to work. We talked about the death of meetings to have meetings.
Boy,
our mutual friend Gelly talked about it. Did you read her post?
I haven't. I've been like, yeah.
Our friend Gelly, who owns Networking Phoenix, had a guy request an appointment with her, and she said, "Okay, so like, what do you want to talk about?" And he said, "Oh, I just wanted to chit chat." And she's like, "All right, so you should probably Google me before you talk to me." And realize that I haven't got time to pee without having an appointment for that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so busy that I don't have time just to chit chat. Like, if you're going to call,
what though, I got to say about that.
What's that?
I got to say about that, because I'm thinking about it from even like a viewer watching this perspective. Two ways of going about it. One, because I've thought about that before. I've thought about just putting on my like dating profile, Google me. Just put Alyssa and Google because it's a unique name. Alyssa Scottsdale. and like know what you're getting yourself into. But it also can come off very vain. It can
Right.
come off like Google me. But I will tell you that there were many times now that I've started adding, because of the massive thing on TikTok, I'm a lender and I help people buy homes and it's part of my value add. But when they're out of state, they've been calling and saying, I just need 30 minutes. What's a 30-minute consultation? I'm like,
Right.
it's $100. 90 minutes is $300. But the whole thing is that, I've got to have that time to set with them. So now I'm starting to think 30 minutes, $100. Now I'm starting to have all my friends and family, like everybody who I've known for years, and they know
Right.
me. And now the pain is happening. They didn't need me then. But now they're like, hey, can I call you? Hey, so what should I do? And as they're talking, I'm thinking, this is somebody's 30-minute consultation for $100.
Right.
You're welcome. But I don't want to say that to my best friends and my mom. And I'm just saying that once you start putting a price on the value that you're giving, and I've always freely given it away. And I still will freely give it away when you find me in a good moment. But there is a value there. And you have to be able to say, look, someone pays for this. And so I have to but I've lost a lot of friends in the last 6 months, I will tell you, because when I finally did put my foot down and say, I can't do the onesie twosie questions all the time. I've got to, I'm valuable to you.
Right.
You've got to, then they shut it. They were like, fine. You don't want to help. I'm like, I'm not a bad person. I just look, I there's this much time.
Well,
And if people are begging you to meet with you, it's like, I don't want to be vain, but at the same time, there's truth to it. But the humility part of it is, I just want people to understand the other side of it. Like, it's not being vain. It's being like, hey, there's something, there's value. It's like if you were to go to a doctor and go, hey, I got this thing. Do you think you could, you wouldn't probably with your doctor friend start telling you everything. They'd say make an appointment. Not that I'm a doctor, but anyway.
You're asking your mechanic to fix your car for free.
Yeah.
What you're doing.
Don't think about sometimes advice as being.
The point is, though, is that if you were to have a conversation with the president of the United States, you wouldn't just be walking up and saying, hey, how's it going? You'd be okay, I've got 15 minutes of this very busy man's time. What is it that I'm offering or asking for? The president's going to give you his time, but don't just walk up and say, I want to just chit chat with you. You know what I mean? It's
right.
And I've learned to create real boundaries around my time too. And it's not because I don't want to talk with people. It's just because there's only 24 hours in the day. And this idea of having
we're friendly, we're social. Yeah.
The idea of having meetings for meeting's sake, though, the idea of just sitting in meeting, I think people are realizing as they're home, like, wow, we just spent an hour of our time in a meeting and we didn't get anything done. So even when I have meetings now, I have working meetings. Like I open the Trello and say, okay, let's do notes in here. Let's make sure that we're working together in this meeting. So I've started to really focus on the meetings that I do have be working meetings. And then there's the networking, getting to know people meetings.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. But I also think that when you do get to a level of busy, like our friend Gelly is, I mean, she has 40,000 people on her membership list.
Yeah.
She couldn't possibly meet with all those people every day. You do have to have the triage. You just can't. And I think the more followers I get, it's the same thing. And, I remember being in a networking meeting once and saying, you have to make a meeting with me on my online calendar. She's like, well, why can't you get your calendar out? I go, because everything's in my online calendar. It's all calibrated to align with my life. And when you ask me to do that, you're making more work for me because when you go into my calendar, it sends you a reminder. It sends you, it's
you just want the systems.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is what's going to make the process.
Back and forth for I haven't got the 45 minutes that it collectively takes to make an appointment that way.
Yeah.
Go look at my calendar and choose whatever time works in your calendar. And she was very insulted that somehow I wasn't being personal. And I thought,
you're just not automated. Yeah.
You're just not my person then. It's
I
not
think with women, we get so nervous about and always in hurting people's feelings. If we're too, if we come off too cold and not warm and not if I send in, if I'm getting 300 emails a day from people asking me questions and I end up starting to respond back, hey, thank you so much for contacting me. Here's the market, here's the services I offer, or you can go and get all this free stuff. And it seems canned. then, after a certain amount of time, it's just so important when you're building a
It's a
brand.
balancing act.
Got to be
But I mean, to
thorough.
this point about meeting just to meeting, if you're going to meet and you're going to spend time meeting, there has to be a purpose for the meeting and an end result that you're hoping to get. Yes, there is like those kind of, I was a member of BNI for years where you'd get down and you get to know each other so you could refer business. There is a get to know you meeting. But I also think at some point, those types of meetings start to be less and less because you've got a huge network. And I decided last year that I've got such a huge network. I want to cultivate the one I've got rather than continually adding people in. And not that I don't want new people to come, obviously, but it's just really kind
quality.
of
It's quality versus quantity. Yeah.
100%. The other thing we talked about was getting focused, that we're defluffing. That what's the one thing that you can focus on right now? And I've been defluffing in every area. And I'm also defluffing in a way that I know a lot of women probably have defluffed before, but my family and my partner has never been more important to me than now. And why is that? It's because I'm my mom's person. My mom is I'm her power of attorney. I'm her person. I've never been somebody's person like that before. My dad was my mom's person, and I was my own person.
Do you like that? Do you like the feeling of like being responsible?
It's just wonderful. It's a gift and a privilege and an honor to be that person, right? But that means that my mom takes precedence, right? Because I'm my mom's person. My mom can't call my dad up and say, what should we do with such and such? Because my dad is in heaven. She can have a conversation, but he's not answering back yet. He might find a way to answer back, but not directly, And I have a partner who's older, okay, and we're not 20 years old, and he's older than I am, and he's got a limited time on this planet. And so when he says to me, "Hey, I'd like to learn how to make a carrot cake," I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." Where before my work was more important, and you have your little girl, so I mean, your priorities are, you have people you have a dog or you have whatever, right? But I think that I'm defluffing ruthlessly today. I really am. I am literally taking a machete to my life and I'm pruning it down to the most important things because I just don't have 1 ounce of energy for negativity, for people that aren't the right fit. People that are good people that are the wrong fit, I don't have time for because I have to look at what's, so I'm defluffing. And I've also put my finances, like many people have, down to the bare minimum, right? Because my income is based upon people spending money, right? And
that's a silver lining in itself. If you think about it, I remember at a point where after my divorce, where it kind of hit a real bottom as far as trying to kind of rebuild, but thought it was going to be easier because I've always made money, but it, like the depression, like just all of it kind of came down and just trying to build right back up again. I forgot where I was going with it. So never mind.
You're talking about defluffing and how that it's a blessing sometimes.
Just trying to build again. Oh, I felt like getting back to zero. Like I felt like God, I'm like, God's like, okay. He's like, you know what? You want to go ahead and this is going to be your purpose in life. Okay. Well, you need to know how it feels 100% to be here and to be building that back up. If that compassion's not there, no one's going to get it. No one's going to understand it. And they're really not going to understand the process of it. And your process isn't going to be easy, but you're going to have to simplify this into like 1, 2, 3.
100%. You know what? I felt the same way when I went through my divorce, right? And had to really. You watched me go through that. I was like, okay, here we go, right?
Yeah.
And I also went through that when I was forced into entrepreneurship. When I put out the bazillion resumes, and in spite of my 3 degrees and all of my drive and all of my ability, wasn't able to get the big gig, right? So I had to learn how to jerry rig my life. And I'm watching people now who have never jerry rigged and have never defluffed. And man, they are in a lot of pain.
They are, but like right now they're getting better. Here's the one thing to take. It's a little bit, you have to understand that like every time you have a really, really rough challenge experience that you get through, that you did not die from, then the next challenge is the reward. that you actually get through it a little bit easier. That's the
Oh,
reward
yeah.
for you.
And
Yeah.
you know what the reward for me is during COVID is I realized how resilient and how, this conversation I had yesterday, there were 4 things that blew up that required some unnecessary or necessary emails, right? But I fixed 4 things that blew up, right?
Mhm.
And I don't even, when I was trying to explain like why there was so much communication, I was like, I didn't realize it until this morning when I woke up, like, wow, I put out like 4 raging infernos. And I did it just like, okay, that didn't work. On to the next thing. That didn't work. On to the next thing. And you know what? That's a skill. That's a skill that I've mastered by the school of hard knocks, right? But there's so many people that are having to learn that skill like real time, like right now. They
Right.
just have their job lost, their husband and they both lost. And it's like depression time. It's
Like,
this
what do
picture
you do?
going home.
Yeah. And it's the
And
unknown, it's the anxiety, but it's a question of yourself of like, how do you handle it when you don't know? Like, how do you walk through the storm? And
yeah,
some will walk through it and be somewhat proud of the way that they stood up and found a creative solution. And I'll be honest with you, there's no other way they would have found that self-esteem. There's no other way they would have found that confidence. They would have kept going and not been challenged and not had any issue or come up and kind of been like, meh, like that life, meh,
right.
meh.
Oh,
But then they get thrown into the fire and then they walk out of it and they go, oh my gosh, I just made it through that. Like, unstoppable now, and they have this whole new like driven thing. So I do think that a lot of it's a general theme. Everybody's kind of feeling like, yes, it is horrible to watch the people around, how many deaths, everybody. There
right.
is possibility for everyone to overcome. There is. And so it's going to be up to you and how you decide you want to look back on how you walked through this later. Like you have to look at that. Yeah.
And I also think that like, I remember saying to my stepchildren when I was married about being in my car, living in my car one summer and not having my own shower, and how grateful I am when I get into the shower and I have the shampoo that I want there, a full bar of soap and a fluffy towel. And just taking a shower to me, that summer taught me so much about what to be grateful for. And I'm realizing that summer has prepared me for this, and going through my divorce and pruning my life last year. It just the idea, I had already started to defluff before, but now I'm defluffing even more because everyone's looking at their budget saying, what don't I need? What don't I need? What don't I need? And what I realize is what I need is very small. And that I'm probably happier than I've ever been with, at risk like everybody else is, quite frankly. Okay. But I realized like, we're buying things in bulk. I've been doing that anyway, right? But I realized I've been preparing myself for this right along. And last night I made poached salmon for the first time. Never poached anything before, but you can Google that shit, So I made some poached salmon and I made a carrot, onion, tartar sauce for top of it over jasmine rice with peas on it. And I thought,
you probably wouldn't have stopped to take
learn how to cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what's interesting too is when everybody started freaking out and buying everything, and I'm kind of the last one to ever do anything. My mom was like, you going to get some food? I'm like, you know what? I signed up for Home Chef. I've been meaning to do it anyway. So the food just gets delivered. And she's like, you still have to cook it. It comes in your, all this stuff and then pictures. And I'm like, I know, but I'm homeschooling and she needs a home ec class. So she's going to cook us that. So 3 nights a week, she cooks. I'm like, and she makes me dinner. So the 2 nights a week, I look at my dogs and I go like, what are we going to eat? I don't know. We're going to go to Taco Bell. But my daughter, but the cool thing is it's just the process of going through it with her on the pictures and getting that time together. I know everybody's felt that same way about getting some of the time they would have never spent. Some people in their relationships were at a kind of a tipping point, and it was kind of like, are we going to make it or not? And then all of a sudden it was like, you can't leave each other for 30 days, And so it was kind of like, okay, let's see how this is going to go. And so they're either like watching the clock. The minute this ends, they're like, boom, to the divorce. A decision's going to be made. I doubt anybody in there is going to walk out, is going to go back to normal life and not be where none of us are normal again, as far as our rhythm, our everything that's in our comfort zone of living life, our stories, our beliefs, the way we go has been challenged and has been shooken up. And so now it's just walking every day going, what's my routine now? Are we getting up to work out first? Because really we got the whole day. So do we want to do this at 10? What's best for me? When do I like to work out? You're just kind of going, I just feel like I'm trying to take kind of my schedule, and I've been working kind of from home anyway. I was saying to you this morning, it's always been the circus. It's just now the circus is all under one tent, and it makes it a lot easier to get through the circus. But the circus is all still there. Now I just think it's more about just the structuring of the day, that's what's going to bring me closer to all of what I've been wanting to do, which is actually my goal-wise, I'm still moving.
What's one thing you've gotten rid of in this time frame?
Oh, men. I gotta be honest. Distracting way, in a physical, all of it. Like my mental place. I've had some closure with some ex-boyfriends that I've realized there was a reason why we are ex people, and just, I don't know, almost to laugh at, to kind of poke fun at it. It's okay. We're all human. Like, I talk a lot about credit and money, and I'm sure sometimes people are like, oh, like they're just like, I'm tired of you a little bit. But once they realize how sucky I am in love, then you can like me, right? That's where we can go. Feel bad for her. Now she's so cool. I like her. She's smart on her head with her kid, but the point is that I got really, really clear at the beginning of this quarantine that I can see him. He's out there. He's working on himself. And I don't want him to know me, and I don't want to know him right now, because I really got 5 or 6 years really to focus on my daughters and the Color My Credit Circus, which is clearly found my purpose, because it's a passion of mine that I've been able to turn around and help somebody up the mountain. I'm not just sitting here focused on this mountain and where's my passion taking me? Now it's flipped to where now I'm grabbing people back here and pulling them up the mountain. That's when I feel like it becomes this purpose thing. So it's not a job 8 to 5. It's like, it's your life. It's become more of just what I do. When people say what are you do this weekend? Same old thing. I mean, just the same old life. It's and I'm happy about it, but it's all in one.
You realize that there's no point in wasting time on things that aren't purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, if you're in a relationship and it's the right one and you want to, learn how to poach salmon and make a carrot cake, or which is huge for me, right? Or, the idea of impacting many people or impacting one person. Like for you, it's your girls, those are your people. That's who I'm impacting. That's the most important thing ever. Right. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's Doc and my mom. Those are 2 people are the most important people ever. And how can I get myself in the right place to be able to be there presently, personally, being able to be there for my dad when he was dying. I have a picture of my dad. I'm holding his dad. I have my hand on his forehead. Yeah. And we're looking at each other. And I look at that and I'm like, what a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing that is, And
it's not even it's just that when you can see it in action, Bob Goff has a great book called Love Does. And he's using it as if you really love, love does. It's an action. It's an actionable thing. When you really do love somebody, then you show it in your actions. You show it in what you do. So it's about just living that kind of mantra.
100%. The other thing we wanted to talk about was get peace. What are you doing right now to be your own hero, your own heroine? What are you doing for yourself? The
big thing is that there are a couple things that have been looming that are things I just kind of need to take care of responsibly. But what we do is it ends up being like we have this thing at the top of the list, and we start creating the to-do list for the day. And it starts becoming this where before you know it, you've done 2 through 99, but you never did the one that was most important. And so you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And then and so what happens is there's always just that one thing, right? When, in that first couple hours in the morning, there's always that one thing that I know that is not the thing I want to do. And you've heard it, eat the frog or whatever the case. But in this case, it's more of that one thing that I can see myself blocking, that I'm intentionally putting off. And whatever that is, I find a step one I can do towards it. So if it was like, I have to get on a workout plan, all I'm going to do is all I'm going to commit to. I'm going to do 10 push-ups. That's it. I'm just going to jump on the ground and do 10 push-ups. That's the commitment for today. Step one. At least I can feel like I'm on my road moving towards it. But if I keep going down this road where every day I block it out and I do this routine of distraction or anything else to make it not a priority, and I don't get on the merry-go-round, it's going to hurt my self-esteem. It's going to hurt my confidence. It's going to hurt everything else, kind of like a rock in your shoe where you're like, it's okay. It's not a big deal, until you take it out and you're like, wow, that's better.
Yeah.
It's hurting. I got a big cut now.
So one of the things that you do to give yourself peace is by doing one thing that you don't want to do.
One baby step. My mom used to say, how are you going to eat the whole elephant? You're going to take one bite at a time. So what's the one bite? It's the same thing with credit. Everything I teach, if it's trying to break down a hard subject or a big, huge thing in your head that you have to do, give me a step one. Just give me one step that I can get done with. And then you can say, what's my step two? Because if we break it down like that, then it's much more easier to get into a momentum, I think, of at least moving towards it. Otherwise, you're just like, no.
As you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing to be at peace? And you and I are such workers that it has to do with work. It's not like, I'm praying or I'm meditating or I'm this or I'm that. I do those things. I pray and I meditate. But I think that for me, this defluffing of my life, the focusing on and the refocusing and the pruning and the defluffing is what gives me peace, because I'm actually stripping away things now, and I'm simplifying in a way that is making me I haven't even had my car in 2 weeks because I got rear-ended at Christmas time, and they took my car and I said, no rush, I'm not driving anywhere,
Yeah.
So I'm breaking my time blocks down into simple pieces. I'm getting, here are the 4 projects that I'm focusing on. Everything else is falling away. Everything else is a no. And what's keeping me more at peace is focusing on Doc and my mom, my friendships and my family, and getting my life as pruned down to the essential as possible. And then just going to bed. I know it sounds crazy, but for me, I was up working on this project that I had a couple things blow up on, and I was up at 4:00 on Monday morning, and I thought, well, I used to do that every day. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be waking up at 4:00 and working until 10:00, taking a nap.
That's it. It's just being mindful.
Yeah, just getting the laundry done and getting, cooking for Doc and just having more of a domestic life that I feel. Doc and I are very similar in this way that we manage our home, very organized and very like having little rituals, and having those rituals of we get up and we have coffee at this time and we do this and when we do that. That to me is a calming force, and I realize it's missing in a lot of the other relationships I've had, is that they didn't understand that I needed that structure. So for me, having a structure and a pattern that allows me to be insanely productive, but it's real simple. Like, I get up every morning and I make Doc breakfast, and his lunch is made from the night before, and it gets put in and the bagel gets put on top of the thing, and he goes out and I do spinning, and then I go through my time.
Automated in our brain.
It allows me, it's like doing hot yoga for me. Yeah. If I can structure my day where I just have things that I just habitually do, then I can get into creative flow like nobody's business. But if I'm constantly pulling from everywhere to try to figure it out, it reduces my peace and my productivity. And so what I'm doing to be at peace is to reduce the amount of
looking for stuff.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I can do 10 days in a row and open my little earring back thing and be looking and be like, I've done this every day. It's not in here. Don't do this again, but instead I'll close the drawer and I'll go back to what I'm doing. And then the next one I'll be like, I'm going to go look in that drawer and see if I can find that earring again. And then I sit there looking and then I close the door. No, throw the earrings away. It's not in there,
Well, I mean, it is simple things like that, though. It is simple things like we put the keys here, the spoons go here, all your little gold earring backs go in the little thing where the gold earring. I know it's
really helps,
but this is something that a lot. I'm trying to think of what his name is now. Always wore jeans, a black shirt and jeans.
I mean, could be anybody.
No, it could be anybody. But picking out your clothes. You see people have only white and black shirts. They just pick a white shirt and black shirt.
Simple, easy. Yeah.
Simple, easy. Like there is such a thing as decision-making fatigue. And for me, when you have chaos around you, and if you walk into somebody's car and it's like a bomb blew up in it, that tells you what their life is like. And I don't mean that in a technical way, okay? But if you were to look in, some of my former people's cars, their car like a bomb blew up, right? But if you look at my car, it's like he's got everything where and I'm the same way.
But then you know what? I'm not crazy, but you'll never go without because I have everything you could ever want in my car. Okay, it might not belong there. But you need a ribbon for your hair. I got a ribbon for your hair. You need a hammer. I got a hammer.
Is your car just full of stuff?
No. It's actually, it used to be like the majority of my life, though. I definitely, when I was married, I mean, it was just this running joke between us. Like, it was just that, you give me a drawer and it's like, you come back like, what? It's like anything else, like you said, the kitchen, if you really want to not identify with that personality trait or whatever of being disorganized, a slob or whatever the case, it's not going to just happen overnight. It's going to take little steps.
It takes time.
One thing at a time. And a lot of it's slowing down. My problem is I'm a creative person, and I'm sure you've read before, the people with the messy desks or that have chicken scratch handwriting or talk a lot is because they got a lot going on up here.
Yeah.
So it's not always so eloquent. And so even when I've been trying to write, I've been looking at my penmanship to be more present. I don't know. That sounds crazy.
Yeah,
instead of being like
saying the same thing, but in different ways. Like everybody has to have that way of being in the world that gives them peace.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's having structure and patterns that allows me to. Like I like going to hot yoga. People say, "Don't you get bored? It's the same sequence." I go, "No, I don't get bored because when I go in there, it's the same sequence, and I turn my brain off, and I know this and that and this, and it allows me to go." Well, I'm doing that in every area that I possibly can in my life. Mm-hmm. When things happen that are unknowns, I'm more rested to deal with the unknowns. Mm-hmm. We do it in different, everyone does it their own way. Having the junk drawer with things in it, or, everyone has a different way of getting there. But for me, one of the ways I'm giving myself peace is by getting very grounded at home and grounded in my structure and grounded in my, when I do this and when I do that. And when I get on autopilot that way, that's when massive action can happen with me.
Right.
Because I take away it's just like what you're saying. You're looking for the earring back and it takes you half an hour. You got to dump them all out. And then you're,
you get this clean infrastructure going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing we wanted to touch on, what are you doing to be inspired?
Oh, to be inspired? Oh,
how do you get inspired?
I'm inspired quite a bit. I have my days when I kind of start going down more of the sassy, negative. I got into it with not into it, but with at least mentally in my head with a credit repair company the other day. And it kind of gets you into this like, we'll take that, and you kind of have to. So, but inspiration and to be honest with you, Facebook makes me a little frustrated because I have just seen so much, negative stuff, like a lot of unneeded comments and things.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's a little bit of a sounding board, but
Yeah.
but I always resort to uh, on Pinterest. I'll just like literally look at quotes. I watch a
I
lot
love
of
Pinterest.
TED Talk and Gary V and things like that that kind of really put me in, a 20-minute Oprah soul session,
Yeah.
listening to something. But I'm a real well aware person of knowing that, it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you're feeling dog tired, it's because you've been barking all day. Number one. And
Yeah.
it's just that whole thing of what are you putting in? What are you consuming with your eyes, with
Yeah.
with everything? And so it's going to be something that produces something good rather than, is it too distracting or, I'm pretty good about not getting stuck in the world of TikTok, as far as a lot of people can jump on it. And then before you know it, it's like 2 hours have passed. Because I've gotten more in the place of building content, I kind of build content and I get out, and I don't spend a lot of time getting to view as much and see what others are doing. And I think that keeps me humble when I do, like when I'm connected with what others are doing. If I only go on Facebook only to post or to respond post, but I'm not actually engaged like in the community. I'm not actually reading like through the feed, commenting on others, it's easy to do that. I feel like once you start getting
Well, I think
into
you have
how
to
much content you have to put out. Yeah.
in order to have the algorithms for Facebook work, though, you do have to engage with other people, because if not, your stuff's not going up on their page. So what I found is if I don't respond to negative stuff, I don't get any negative stuff on my feed. Like like I
Because it
had
works the
someone
same way on all the apps. Yeah.
I had
It's
someone
all about
post
what you respond to.
respond to, right? So I don't even read I don't even look at, I just scroll right
It's not
past.
necessarily negative too. It's, I guess, just more of a, it's
Drain.
just an underwhelmed, like an underveil of sad. And I do want to tell you this real quick because I thought it was really interesting. My really good friend who works for a big collection company, a huge collection company in town, she was saying that on their website now, if you just go on their website, I'm not going to tell you who it is, and you go into frequently asked questions, it says right on there that we delete every account when the payment's made, whether you settle or you don't settle, like we're going to delete it from your credit report.
Right.
And that is huge from coming from 4 years ago when I talked to this person. And I said, you guys ever delete if they pay the collection? And she laughed. She just laughed in my face and went, why? Like, first of all, it's kind of illegal. I'm like, well, why is it illegal? And you hear that a lot. And she goes, you can't, like, you'll get your hand slapped by the 3 credit bureaus because you reported information. Now you're telling them to not report it. Well, then why was it there in the first place? It shouldn't have been there, right?
Right.
And so I said, oh, so must have been me. Must have been me and my pushing, like, asking for deletions, educating on the importance of getting it deleted. That's not going to ever make it good unless it's removed from your credit.
Right.
So it's just funny because I talked to her yesterday and she said, we delete every one of them. It's right on our website now. Like, you're going to get it deleted. So I said, what changed really? And she said, the CFPB. And I said, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. What are you talking about? Did they write you a letter? And she goes, well, they were put into play, after the housing crisis and to monitor, to look for any kind of abusive and deceptive practices by collection companies. They were put in place, okay, to start watching Big Brother. And I go, oh my gosh, did they write you a letter? Did they send you guys, you're one of the biggest collection companies. So to change a policy like that internally, like, what'd they say? And she's like, nothing. It was just the knowing it existed. Knowing there was somebody out there that they started looking at it through the eyes of the consumer themselves, the collection company, and saying, do we really want to stay on people's credit? Where we could be now they're going to get a complaint. They're going to complain that this thing's on credit still, even though they paid it. They're going to complain about us to the CFPB. They're going to come to us and say, you're deceptive. You're doing something to not protect
Shut down.
consumers. So even though the CFPB hasn't said to us, you're going to hurt consumers eventually if you don't delete it from their credit, they didn't say that. They started thinking differently because they knew this was here and there was a
Right.
possibility. And we all do it in different ways. There's a perception of this here. The minute the quarantine happened, I started getting phone calls from people saying, we're not going to make it. We can't make our house payment this month. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. This yesterday it was okay. You haven't lost your job or anything yet. Our kids are moving home. Our kids are going to eat everything. And we need stimulus. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. We haven't, yesterday we had money. So I do think it's a mental thing that some of us start going, oh shit.
Oh, yeah, like the toilet paper thing. Like everybody had to go out and buy toilet paper because it made them, it was a self-soothing thing, like we have toilet paper. Although Doc and I are down to our last roll of toilet paper. It's sad.
Get online. You can go to Trader Joe's. They bought out Hilton hotels, toilet papers. So that's smart,
But you're right. I mean, the idea that, the panic button that gets pushed, like everything's going to go to crap, right? I do think that things are going to shift. I think that things are shifting. I think that, businesses are going to go south and not come back. I think that people are going to have to make some massive shifts. I wonder.
It's scary. Yeah.
It's scary. Mm-hmm. We can go ahead and talk about, was it the right thing for the government to do or not, but it's too late now. We're in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, the 5 things, I guess how many things? So the 5 things was that we needed to get positive because we want to summarize for this chat. There's several warnings and everything. Number 2 was get to work and stop having meetings just to have meetings, like get to work.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 was get focused, figure out what you're going to defluff and what's the most important thing to focus on. Number 4 was get peace. Figure out what gives you peace, whatever form it comes in. And Alisa gave you, and I gave you a couple ideas. And then the 5th thing was get inspired. Find out. I listen to Tony Robbins all the time anyway, but he's had some really awesome. And Gary Vee, we're big listeners of. This. Go ahead to any of your Spotify, any podcast where you get your podcast, and just Google in positive thinking, and you'll get a plethora of things to listen to. Start putting some
music. Listen to music. Let that music. I've been even a bigger enjoyer of music now. Yeah. I really spent a lot of time
to watch it, and you've always been a big music person. So we wanted to give people a tool and a product that they could look at every week. And I thought I would give a product, and I thought I'd give a tool. How's that?
Okay.
So the product I'm going to talk about today is a book called Un-F Yourself by Gary Bishop. Love that book. Number 1, if you get that book on tape, he has a Scottish accent, and it will make you laugh the entire book through. I listened to the book like 5 or 6 times through, and it's just a really great way. He doesn't candy coat it. He really, tells you like it is, and he curses, and so you don't want to listen to this book with your kids. And I think you can get a non-cursing version, but the cursing version is so much funnier. Why would you do that? But it's really funny way of looking at the stuff that we do in our own mind to screw ourselves up.
Yeah.
It gives a lot of really great examples of how to un-F yourself. And it really is, as far as I'm concerned, an inside job. It's like, what are you going to focus on, and what are you going to do about it, and what are you going to stop doing? It's a really great read. So it's called Un-F Yourself by Gary Bishop.
Okay, that's awesome.
And what's a good
there's so many. I'm going to say that there's so many great tools, but the one thing I want to talk about is just real quick one is missing money. I've brought it up before. You've been a great one about it. Just don't forget about that because it's a legit site. www.missingmoney.com. And all you do is you put your first, last name in and your state. This is legit money. This is unclaimed property. You'll end up going, if you have a claim there. And the thing is what I was going to say is don't just do this for you. Okay. Pick 5 people today and put in their first and last name. If their name comes up, I do this all the time, screenshot it and text it to them and say, I don't know if you're looking for money, but like I found some money for you.
You did that
okay,
for me, and I had a $1,200. I had a $1,200 IRS refund from my Scottsdale health coach business that never got to me. Had no idea.
yeah.
So thank you for paying
It
my
was that
rent.
moment, you know. So the missing money thing, definitely go like check on that. The other thing is that sometimes when we're broke and when things are rough, and you think about donating during a time when you're the one in need, and you just
Yeah,
think that's ludicrous. I'm broke. You know how many times I've asked people about setting up some kind of a give back system, and they're like, "Ugh, I'm broke," and they
right.
keep saying it. And it's like, okay, but what if here's the way you really have some faith and belief in yourself, and what you're saying is that you have abundance coming, right? Is that you really do act on it. Like, so giving, uh Charity Navigator, okay, is a great app, Charity Navigator, because you can read about all these different charities and what they're doing. And what's great is you can go in and set it up to where you do a reoccurring donation. Okay, so it could be a $20 charge on your credit card that you're doing to give back. It's a specific activity for that credit card or whatever, but it's also a specific activity where you are mindfully loosening your grip on money. You're creating abundance in your life by having faith enough to go, I don't have it, but I'm going to give this. Huh?
The universe is going to send you more money, but if you're stingy and you're hanging on to it, that's why I only give 10% of all my paintings, and Micalizzi Gifts Project is 100% gift of the painting and 50% gift of the profit in the stores, because it
It will never not pay back. It will never
it
not
always
pay back.
100% does. And it also, my mission is to lift up and encourage others to discover their best, and that may or may not have anything to do with money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you are kind to somebody and you give to somebody, that in and of itself makes you rich.
It literally does. You'll never find that kind of wealth in going up the mountain or being at the top of the mountain. Like I said, until you turn around and grab somebody and bring them with you, like it's just not going to be that exciting. I promise you, you know.
100%. So there we are. That's a great place to end. It's 3:30. Look at that.
Right.
This is awesome because we're both so busy. We never get a chance to talk to each other. So I really appreciate the hour of your time.
I do appreciate that, because I do think that we've always been so busy, social, da 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 da. But even when people walk in the room for an event, I'm like, hey, hi, 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 and nobody's like, we're not like getting to have a real fruitful conversation. And I feel like since Zoom and these kind of things, like all the conversations I've had on here are just so much more, I don't know, just more, got some goods in there, you know?
Good stuff on there. So we had planned on doing this mastermind long before COVID. So it's pretty cool. So we'll see you in a month.
Oh, you want to be relentless? How about that?
Yeah, I do. Let's do it. All right, sister. We'll see you here in a month, and we'll be meeting in a couple of weeks anyway. But we'll be seeing you back on Relentless Talk Radio on the 3rd Friday of May. We haven't picked our topic yet, but thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been episode 69 of Relentless Talk Radio. This has been the Relentless Woman Mastermind, and Alisa Glutz and I say, have a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye.